Okay, everybody, I'm going to do a quick video today on something that I've been thinking about very seriously. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big reader of books. I have a funny feeling there's probably a lot of people out there that are we're in the information age, and the information age we live in, information is just so readily available at our fingertips. We're never more than a few clicks away from information. But one particular scenario that I'm most concerned about, I'm kind of an amateur astronomer, always have been interested in the stars, and I had a telescope when I was a kid, and I like to pay attention to information that has anything to do with space. And one of the big concerns that I have going forward is the solar cycle and the expected intensity of the solar cycle in 2012. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, you crazy wacko kook! You think that the world's going to end in 2012? You're paying too much attention to the Mayan calendars and whatnot." But honestly, I personally believe that we have a much greater threat from a solar storm. One thing to look into for those of you who are not aware of it, actually, I'll do it right now. We'll go check it out. I'm going to tell you about an event that took place called the Carrington event. Okay, the Carrington event, also known as the solar storm of 1859, was a solar superstorm. And basically what it is sunspot activity. Every 11 years the sun goes through a cycle where it gets more intense, and then it gets to the point where there's no solar sunspot activity. And I'm not exactly sure how NASA projects solar activity from one year to the next, but it goes in 11-year cycles, and in 2012 we will have the next peak. And for whatever reason, I'm not a NASA scientist, I don't know exactly why, but they're saying that 2012 could be the most intense solar storm we've had in a long time. Just to give you some examples, in 1859, when the Carrington event happened, by the way, it's named that because Richard Carrington was an astronomer who back in 1859 was paying attention to the sun, and these are images or drawings of the sunspots that he witnessed in 1859. And shortly after this intense solar activity of 1859 happened, what there was a massive electromagnetic storm that knocked out power stations. Well, actually, we didn't really have power stations. What we had was a telegraph system back then. We didn't have the big, huge grid of power that we have today. But modern scientists today are saying that if we have an event like this, it is going to knock us into the Stone Ages. We are not going to have an internet. We are not going to have a power grid. We are not going to have the ability to repair either the internet or the power grid for, some scientists say, 4 years on the short side, and some scientists say as many as 10 to 20 years. Now, I live in a rural area, so for me, a solar storm like this could probably knock out life as I know it for a decade or more, in that I won't have power, I won't have internet, I won't have any means to learn with this wonderful information age that we live in, where information is just a few clicks away. It's not going to be like that should this happen. Now, obviously, this is something that we don't control. It's something that we're not going to know about. It would happen with a very small amount of warning. Basically, it takes anywhere from 18 hours on the quick side to a day, or actually a couple of days on the slow side. It depends on the vacuum of space between us and the sun, how long it takes for a coronal mass ejection to reach Earth from the sun. But neither here nor there. The bottom line is that we get warnings of solar storms all the time, and very rarely does anybody do anything or think anything about it. It's just like, oh, humdy-ho, I've heard that before, nothing ever happens. Well, it's a few times in Canada recently, they had massive grid failures, and it took them quite a while to repair those grid failures. But so my SHTF tip for the day is stock up on books. Stock up on everything that is written in paper, because in a, whether it's an EMP attack from a terrorist organization or a nuclear weapon going off in the atmosphere, or whether it's a solar storm, if the grid fails, if you have a library of very well-written books, you're going to be in good shape, because you're going to have the understanding and the ability to get the information you need without having access to the internet. So I'm going to give you some ideas right now about some books. And everybody, a lot of people talk about, well, you just need a survival guide, and well, you just need an Army surgical manual. Well, I'm not even going to bother going to that, because I'm not a medic. I'm not a surgeon. If I have a medical problem, I'm just going to pray to God and hope I can find somebody that actually has that kind of expertise. Obviously, I'm going to have some first aid supplies, but knowledge is power. Knowledge will get you through a lot of things. If you don't have the knowledge now, then at very least you better have the ability to obtain that knowledge when you need it in a pinch in the future. So I'm going to give you some ideas. Here's one real good idea. Wild Table Seasonal Forage Food and Recipes. Okay, so this is a book that's going to give you, and there's a lot of books like this. I'm not saying you have to buy this book, and I'm not saying that any particular book is the right book. I'll be honest with you. I'm just starting my collection, and I don't have a bunch of books yet. But this is something I think that everybody should be aware of. So there's a lot of books out there, and you should get one that's specific to your regional location. If you're in the Midwest like me, you want to find a book that has foraging tips for being in the area that you're in. You don't want to book for foraging in Alaska if you're in Florida. That's not going to help you. You need to know what is indigenous in the area that you're in that's edible. Okay, so that's one idea. Let's see what else we got. I'm gonna look. No. Okay, this is another website, and again, I'm not trying to advertise for these websites, but I think there's a lot of information that can be very valuable. In an SHTF scenario, especially a long-term one, let's say the grid goes down for whatever reason and it's down for a decade, you're going to run out of gas, okay? You're going to run out of propane, you're going to run out of diesel fuel, and it's going to get to the point where it doesn't matter how many guns you have, it doesn't matter how many bullets you've got, you will not find it again, because the ability to refine and produce liquid propane will cease to exist, and you'll go through a small Mad Max period of time where people will kill for a bottle of propane gas, or people will kill for some gasoline or some diesel fuel, but then they won't even be able to do that because there won't be any to fight over. Okay, so you need to learn how to be able to produce energy and electricity and fuels for both heating, transportation, and whatever it is, and I mean, don't worry, don't think about like this is impossible. It is definitely not impossible. We got around just fine 100 years ago, before we had the power grid, before we had gasoline, before we had liquid propane. There were different methods of producing electricity, producing energy. We didn't use it on the kind of scale that we use electricity and energy today, but nonetheless, there were ways to do it. Knowledge Publications is a website that I've recently strolled across, and this guy's got a whole library at your fingertips, and everything from CDs on how alcohol can be gas to how you can make hydrogen from solar systems, how you can build your own fuel cells, how you can use alcohol as a gas. There's even a chapter in this book about how to use alcohol in diesel engines, which is something that will be very useful, because diesel engines, I think, last longer, they're more durable. But, once again, you're going to reach a point in time where you don't have diesel. You don't have access to it. Of course, another good book, and there's books on this guy's page about how to make biodiesel and how to make biomass energy. One thing I'm personally doing is I am going to build a biomass gasification system. Okay, biomass gasification is basically this is a website that I highly recommend everybody check out. It's called Victory Gasworks. Okay, this is a guy up in the Pacific Northwest, and he's created an online social community of people to share and learn ideas about biomass gasification. What biomass gasification is a system of taking the fuel out of wood, out of wood chips, out of cow manure, horse dung. I mean, any kind of biomass that will burn, you can extract the hydrocarbons out of it. And you just have to go through a gasification process, okay? People have built whole vehicles that run on wood, that run on coal, that run on anything that burns, and what they do is they build a gasification chamber, and then they run the gas through a filtration system to take out any impurities and things like that. But this is a project. My goal for this year is to build my first biomass gasification system. If we have a good success with it, then we're gonna find a good stationary generator, and we're gonna have the ability to produce power here with biomass. So it won't matter that I've run out of diesel fuel. It won't matter that I've run out of fuel for my regular generator, because I will literally be able to create it from biomass. This is something everybody that has some basic fabrication skills can learn about, and they don't take that much time to build. So Victory Gasworks, again, it's a free community. You join it. It's a social network, and you can learn from other people that are currently learning how to build biomass gasification systems all throughout the world. So that's another thing. What else do we have here? Survival guide. Here's a basic survival guide on how to survive the end of the world as you know it. Tactics, techniques for uncertain times. And it's just kind of an idea. There's a lot of different similar books that are out there. This is a website I just found, SSRI, Survival and Self-Reliance. I personally began what I considered a lifestyle of self-reliance over 3 years ago, before I even heard the term prepper. But now I realize that I actually fall into a category of a large population of people throughout the world, not just in the United States, but throughout the world, that are prepping for unknown futures and for unstable times ahead. For the end of the world as we know it, or whatever. So this website, ssrsi.org, it's got, here, we'll go to the homepage. It's got all kinds of really useful subjects to research, from everything from how to learn how to hunt to how to learn how to deal with urban survival, outdoor survival, just a whole plethora of information. Of course, this is kind of an under the radar site that I wasn't aware of until I just kind of did a search now. Probably the biggest, most popular site that a lot of people are on, and I've actually heard this mentioned by a lot of preppers on the YouTube community, is Survival Blog. This obviously has a tremendous, just a huge resource of information. But again, this is information that is not going to be available to you in the event of a nationwide power grid failure, okay? So that's why it is so important to start stocking a library. Start building an arsenal of books, an arsenal of knowledge that you can draw from in the event that the SHTF happens and you go to turn your computer on and all you get is a big blank screen, because there's no power, there's nowhere to research, there's no way to get that information, there's no phone lines, there's no cell phones, and you're just completely cut off from the world. And maybe the best thing you've got, if you were smart enough to have a Faraday box and put a shortwave radio or CB radio or a ham radio inside of a Faraday box, and you've got things that don't have blown circuitry because of a solar flare or an EMP attack, you can pull that out. But other than that, you're going to be in a situation where you are no longer able to get the information that we're so hooked on and that we're so used to being able to access now. So again, have a wonderful day. I hope this has